Let's talk about DK Metcalf. He's the next guy up here. Practice fully Wednesday, I saw. So is he good to go, DK? So ribs, hip, what's going on with him?
Yeah, so the ribs he's been dealing with for several weeks, that's not what held him out last week. It was more the hip, which he practiced in full again today on Thursday. It looks like he's going to play this week. Hip injuries, they're not being real specific on what it is, but generally a hip injury is going to make it a little bit tougher for the lateral agility, the cutting. It can absolutely affect straight line sprinting too, but more effect on the lateral agility. DK is he's a down the field guy, and he's a big body. And that hip injury is not going to make him any smaller. That's for sure. So I don't see this projecting to impact his production whatsoever. Go ahead and start him.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, he's been good, 11.3 points per game, half-point PPR. I actually thought he was doing better, Tom, but game log so far, 12.2, 10.5, 14.2, 10.9, then the bye, then 8.9 and missed a game. I mean, he's still fine. Hasn't gone off, so to say, but he's still the alpha there. I agree with you. And, Tom, while I was looking up Puka Nakua's real name, I had to learn what DK stands for. And your answer is Decalen... Decalen Zacharias Metcalf. Badass name right there. But cool I would start him as well, without a doubt. Guy I probably wouldn't start is the guy I've been fading all year. It's Christian Watson, has a knee injury. What's going on with the Packers wide receiver?
It's mild. He actually isn't even on the injury report anymore. It looked bad in the game. I know a lot of people were speculating some major ligament injuries, but no, he's all clear there. Very mild. He looked good in some of the practice videos I saw this week. Not expecting this to hinder him at all. If he's a guy that you need to start, you don't need to be you don't need to think that he's going to play worse because of this injury. But like you're saying, he hasn't been great, but I do think he's still kind of just getting into the flow of things. We know he dealt with the hamstring early in the season. He's still probably getting on the same page with Jordan Love, who himself has not been great at all. No. The combo of those two makes me not so optimistic about Watson, but I do think there's better days ahead than what we've seen.
Okay, so before I give my opinion on Christian Watson, for let's say a dynasty perspective, Tom, would you buy low on him at this point? Are you holding? Are you out on him? Like, what advice would you like? For me, I just don't love him. I know he's good and he has some unique skill set, but what advice would you give for dynasty on Christian Watson?
Well, you need to consider your level of risk tolerance, because we know the two biggest predictors, or not predictors, I retract that word. The two biggest risk factors for injury are age and prior injury. He's young, so age isn't a problem, but he's got a pretty lengthy injury list only in his second season. But he's also shown with Aaron Rodgers last year that he can put up some big numbers. So it depends on how much risk you like to take. If you're not averse to risk at all, yeah, go ahead and try to get him. Try to buy him. If you're somebody who is not a fan of risk, then you may want to ship him out, and you could probably get a decent return on him, especially if you know the guy in your league, guy or girl in your league, who is a very risky player, and they just see that upside. That might be the person that you try to trade with.
Yeah, and was great last year, but again, that's what the Hall of Fame quarterback frickin' peppered him. I mean, he ran hot with touchdowns. Done virtually nothing this year, Tom, averaging just 6 points a game so far. But yeah, Jordan Love is part of the problem. My sister's a huge Packers fan. She comes in every time they lose to work. We work together at the same high school. She's always just rolling her eyes about him. But Jordan Love this year, just 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, which is second in the league. 8 actually goes to Jalen Hurts, which we're really not complaining about, and Jimmy G. But Love just makes a lot of unnecessary passes, a lot of bad interceptions. And last week, 10 guys caught passes for the Packers. But unfortunately, their leading receiver was A.J. Dillon with 34 yards against Denver. And Tom, we couldn't be more wrong. And I would go back and make the same bets. I would make the same statements again. They played Denver last week, Tom. I think I forget even the reference I made about how bad Denver's defense has been, and the Packers were off a bye. So not looking good for the Packers. I'm really, really fading a lot of their offensive weapons, including Aaron Jones, who I think is even washed at this point. But